And this is the best job on the planet when you think about the impact that we can have on young people all over the state. But it is made so special because I get to work with so many special people. And this state is big. Everybody knows the phrase, everything is bigger in Texas. They are not lying when they say this. We have about 9,000 campuses in the state of Texas. We spend about $90 billion a year on K-12 alone in the state of Texas. We have over 800,000 employees working in public education across 1,200 school systems. It is a very big enterprise, just about anywhere in the state of Texas. But Bell Manor is very special. And I wanted to come here today to celebrate this group, this team, this group of educators for truly extraordinary work. Because what you do, I'll echo the superintendent's remarks. We live in a country where we're blessed. It speaks to the. So what you do, I'll echo the superintendent's remarks. We live in a country where we're blessed. It speaks to the. Some of the highest ideals of men. All men are created equal, that we are endowed with certain rights to pursue happiness. And public education is really the deliverer on the American dream business. This is what we do. We try to make sure that the next generation is equipped to pursue these ideals that we are called to do in the Declaration of Independence. This is what you do. You call it a Tuesday here at Bell Manor. This is what you do. And it has happened with such excellence and such expertise. If all the staff here at Bell Manor, would you mind please standing for us? And I want everybody here to recognize it. For those in the back who are already standing, just put your hands up. The education is an important enterprise. It is, in fact, I think at its core, a moral enterprise. We have state-level policymakers with us here today in the legislature and the state board. And in our policy framework in the state of Texas, it starts with turning things on. And so, so with that, in the policy infrastructure in the state of Texas, we have this belief system codified into state law. The legislature has said it. They spell this out at the State Board of Education. And it is a belief that all children can learn and achieve at high levels. And when we say all, we don't mean unless this, unless that. We don't mean if you come from this kind of household, you come from this kind of household. We mean that all children can learn and achieve at high levels. And this is a belief system that this team has, that they bring to work every day, and they act on it. And this can seem abstract. But we do have to actually boil it down to specifics. We're here at an elementary school. I'm going to talk about an elementary school standard. One of the things that we believe in Texas, for example, is that all third graders should memorize their times tables. This is what the State Board of Education will adopt as an actual student expectation in third grade math. It says represent 1- and 2-step problems involving addition and subtraction of whole numbers to 1,000. I want all my math teachers in the room, please raise your hand. So. For those of you in the audience, go see them. They know this stuff cold. They know it. And this is what we believe. We believe that all children, like all of them, if we do what is right, they will be able to do this by the end of third grade. This is where we start with this basic belief system, and then we try to codify it, and then we assess this. We have a very popular state assessment here in the state of Texas. So popular we're repealing it and replacing it. But at the end of the year, the STAR test is based upon these standards. And so you can think, and our teacher had 736 crayons. That is a whole number under 1,000. She threw away 197 broken crayons. I have to think that represents subtraction. She bought 150 more crayons. I have to think that the representation of that is addition. This is a 2-step problem involving addition, subtraction, whole numbers. This is what we do. And our job in school is more than this, because we got to love them, we got to support them, we got to grow them and nurture them, but we definitely need to teach them to read, write, and do math. We need to teach them our history, we need to teach them science. They need to be prepared to pursue the great American dream that is eligible to all of us if we got a great public education. And this is what is happening here in this school, and this is why we're talking about this, because we don't keep silent about this. It is incumbent upon us as adults to showcase how well is it working. We want to be called to pursue this vision for public education as the great equalizer. But we don't live in a utopia. Sometimes we can fall short. And so we have to be honest with ourselves about how well it is working. And so we have an accountability system. We give A through F ratings every year, this time of year. And if this is a B, which clearly is, it's not Bell Manor's report card, because Bell Manor's got an A, and I'm going to talk about that even more here in a bit. But we do this because it's sort of common sense. What is inspected is respected. But we also do this because evidence tells us that this is the right thing to do. The Texas accountability system has actually been studied by researchers, and they find that because we publicly rate schools, students do better subsequently in school, and even by the time that they turn 25, they're making more money because we have events like this to celebrate excellence in our schools, because it helps quicken the pulse to celebrate what these guys are doing while they're in our classrooms. We have there's a lot of complexity that can get involved in A through F ratings. When you think about the teachers in this room and the grade books that you have for your students, you can have quizzes, you can test and take home papers and all this stuff, and then you kind of all roll it into one. We have to synthesize this, and so we look at achievement. This is got a bunch of third graders. Do they know their third grade content? But we also recognize that school can sometimes have a situation where children come in and they're pretty far behind academically. And so if you have a student in 4th grade who was way behind at the beginning of the year and rises a lot, we measure that growth as well. We're in the growth business. This is what we do. And so we will rate schools the better of achievement or growth based upon all their kids, but we also do it based upon individual groups of kids to make sure no one is being left behind. We want to honor the moral purpose of public education, to serve all as the great equalizer. And this is what we do. And so every year we give A through F ratings. And if you're interested in statewide data, this is a picture on a statewide basis. This system helps us improve as a state. I heard Board President Cole, was like music to my ears. Principle number 1, continuous improvement. This year, 25% of campuses statewide are an A. Last year, 24% were an A. This is iterative improvement. We have got to work so that every year is a little bit better than the year before. And we have to learn our lessons from the year before. And we have fewer underperforming campuses this year, fewer D and F campuses statewide than we did last year. We have more A campuses. The system is working. It is helping us improve public education. And in fact, there are some outliers. This is a chart that will show you campuses with their rating last year and campuses with their rating this year. And statewide, out of 9,000 campuses, 56 campuses were a C last year that are an A this year. And we're in one of them right here. This is no mean feat. This is a room filled with people who love children, and this is good. If you want to work in public education, ingredient number 1, love kids. Don't love kids, there's lots of other jobs for you. But you don't just love kids to high levels of literacy proficiency. You don't just love kids to high levels of mathematics proficiency. It takes skill, it takes expertise, it takes organization, it takes systems. It takes what this district does uniquely well around the state of Texas. The Hurst Julius Bedford ISD has embraced not just a system of continuous improvement, but a system of managing curricular quality with consistency for all kids. Because again, if this is supposed to be the great equalizer, it shouldn't just be a lottery of what classroom you land in. Every classroom should be able to deliver greatness. And I will tell you, as Commissioner of Education, I get to see a lot around the state. And this design principle that your local school board has built into the school system is not typical, but it is effective. It is wise. It is farsighted. And I am grateful to be here today to honor this group of professionals for executing with professionalism and an unrelenting spirit that says they only got one shot at first grade and it's up to us. And that's what has happened here at this school. We actually have schools somewhat like this. There are people in our state that believe that poverty is destiny. Because you come from a household that has challenges, you are not going to learn how to read. And I'm here to tell you, like, this is not true. This is not true. Just being born on a bed of money does not give you the gift of reading. What gives you the gift of reading is to read. And I'm here to tell you, like, this is not true. This is not true. Just being born on a bed of money does not give you the gift of reading. What gives you the gift of reading is good teaching with rigorous curriculum. And we have about 400 schools all over the state of Texas. There were more than 80% of the kids need federal subsidy to eat on a regular basis. And yet, high levels of achievement are provided for them. Because this is what can be true when we, the adults in their lives, organize appropriately. And what happens, what is unique about HEB is it's so consistently focused on this, district-wide. We, again, try not to keep this a secret. We want everybody to know. So if you want to stop listening to me, you can pull out your phones and go to texasschools.gov. You can check out Bell Manor's scores. You can go deeply into this. You can see every school in the state, and it'll show you what the track record is of that individual campus. This is clearly not Bell Manor because they're an A. And get a sense of how well that school performs. But you can also put a map in this. You can put your address. So if you live in Hearst or Euless or Bedford, you can put one of your addresses in, draw a map. You're going to see a lot of A and B rated campuses in HEB ISD, by the way. In Hearst or Euless or Bedford, you can put one of your addresses in, draw a map. You're going to see a lot of A and B rated campuses in HEB ISD, by the way, which is great to see. And we use this information to help parents, to help teachers, to help principals, to help school board members, everybody improve the system. And it brings me back to Bell Manor. Y'all are extraordinary. What you do is you bring your A game every day. And again, we measure schools 3 different ways. We measure them based upon achievement. This is what the kids know and can do. We measure them about the rate of academic progress, what percentage of kids are growing a year or more in a year's time. And then how well you are closing the gaps between different groups of students. And if you look at the little line graphs there, you'll see upward trends and pretty noticeable jumps, especially in Domain 2 and Domain 3 here in the last year. This is what this team did. This is what y'all did. The reason I am here is just like, I want to thank you. I want all these cameras to know what the team here, what your leadership did, what this team did for our kids. This is the thing about education. Education is the most important enterprise in which man is engaged. Every other aspect of our civilization, of our republic, of our future, depends upon the success of this group of school teachers and the support staff and the leadership team and all the systems that they put together for our kids. And it's hard. You hear stories that make you cry. You sweat, you work long hours. And I'll say sometimes you don't know how it's going to work out. But one of the things about this work, one of the things about what this team does, it reminds me there's an old Greek proverb and it goes something like this. Wise is he who plants a seed for a tree whose shade he'll never see. And the work that you do, molding eager young minds, molding these 2 customers here and many that are at karate practice right now and elsewhere. This work echoes through the generations. God bless you all. This work echoes through the generations. God bless you all. Thank you. Now it's a press conference, so for the rest of you that are here, thank you. And then for members of the media, how may I be of service?
Commissioner Morath, Matthew Scroy with the Forward Report. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Worth ISD's William James Middle School received its 5th consecutive unacceptable rating. Does that change anything in terms of the state intervention? Will you close that school? Does it add another minimum 2 years to that intervention? Can you explain that for us, please?
I think the short answer is no, it doesn't change things substantially. There's a team in place. The team's got a plan. The plan is largely based upon the principles you heard echoed here by their board president. And they will continue to do that. And our hope, our real high hope, is that the students at William James will see a significant improvement in the quality of their experience this school year relative to what has happened for many, many years in years past.
Commissioner Lloyd Brown with Fox 4 News. The state now has leadership over Worth ISD. There are 7 upgraded campuses still. What should the public's expectation be going forward next year at this time?
Our goal is to see improvements in the quality of learning for students, full stop. We want to see the way that district central office supports its teachers, the way that the school rolls out its organizational structures need to be oriented towards rigorous curriculum, support for effective educators, and talent practices to retain effective educators and recruit them. This is it. And so knowing what happens when those ingredients come together, we hope to see significant improvements in the quality of learning in schools throughout Fort Worth. So we should be able to see it. We'll look at A-3F scores next year this time and see how well it's working.
Commissioner Morath, my name is Maven. I'm with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Are there any districts in DFW Metroplex facing state takeovers because of this year's grades?
No.
Commissioner Cole Sullivan with WFAA, kind of building on that question, there are campuses here that have had 4 Fs in the Metroplex. We're here celebrating Bell Manor and the success that they've had. What would your message be to some of the other campuses and other districts that have kind of seen some failures, Fs and Ds in the past few years?
The work of public education is difficult, but the practices that get results are known. In fact, if you think about this district that we are in, Bell Manor is a phenomenal school that has delivered great results for kids, but HEB actually, with some consistency, does this in schools all over their district. And so we would encourage districts around the state to look at these evidence-based practices, what kind of managerial support should be provided from the central office to each campus, and do it. And do it with urgency, because you only get one shot at first grade. And the kids need this, and they need it now.
Commissioner, you've been talking about districts around the state. The state is seeing continuous enrollment decline. And what concerns do you have for delivering the best education when you're seeing enrollment decline across the state, and that decline is tied to funding?
Yeah, so in the most recent school year statewide, again, we have about 5.5 million kids in public school. The most recent school year, we saw a 74,000 kid decline statewide. It's an unusual thing, because I think probably in the last 40 years, this is the first time we've seen a decline other than the COVID interruption. And so what I will say is local school systems, so you think the superintendent here, superintendent elsewhere, they have to react to the conditions on the ground. So you have some school districts in Texas that are fast growing. And in a fast growing district, you got to build buildings, you got to recruit extra people. You have some school districts that are flat, and that requires a different set of management procedures each year. And then some school districts that might be shrinking, and then you have to think about how to consolidate resources and get efficient. That environment is actually not new. This has been true for the last 30 years, because the growth in the state's never all 1,000 school systems. It sort of varies. So I think there are some districts that are working through what managerial changes they might need to make in a declining enrollment environment, but there's plenty of other districts that they can look to that have dealt with declining enrollment before and address those. With regard to funding, funding is tied to per pupil enrollment in the state of Texas in some ways. In some ways it's not. But what the legislature did, and you have a couple members of the legislature here today, is they added $4.5 billion of resources per year to public education funding. So per pupil funding in K-12 education in the year that we're sitting in is about $750 higher per kid than it was just a year or two ago. So in some cases, even a decline in enrollment, when mixed with the additional per pupil funding targets, actually don't result in funding decline. They might result in a funding increase. It just kind of depends on the local school system.
Sir, here in our area, we have our first district in the Metroplex that has an 1882 partnership with a third party that's coming in to take over operations at a couple of schools that had consecutive years of unacceptable.
It's not the first. There's been several in Fort Worth for some time.
Takeover partnerships, I should say, with private operators. How does that fit into this picture as you're looking at different school districts trying to up their grades?
Yeah. Before I answer, I just want to say to all the staff of the campus in the room, I'm sorry you're sitting here through the press conference. Thank you for your patience. If you guys want to leave, you're welcome to. Anyways, thank you. So back to your question. Our goal as stewards of the system, I was a school board member for 4.5 years before I was a commissioner. My goal is the most outcomes improvement, the quickest, period. And so what I think some school districts are thinking through is, are there partners that might have specialized or higher degree of expertise in some areas of curriculum, instructional supports, this sort of thing, and are these partners that we can turn to improve results for kids? And so I think some districts are doing this. They may be doing this because of accountability issues, but like, if it's a good idea for kids, you should do it. You should do it for today, period. Shouldn't wait.
Kind of going off of his question, William Middle School did receive its 5th consecutive F. Are there any plans to partner with a charter school or private entity to run that campus?
And I can't answer. That's a local Fort Worth question, so you'd have to talk to their management team on what they're thinking through. Are there other questions?
Meredith Dyer with the Texan. I have a question about Austin ISD. You said that everyone's interested in Austin. You said it's preliminary and there's still ratings to be finalized. What more do you need to know about Austin ISD?
Yeah, there is unfortunately this school year there is one school district that had a campus reach 5 years of F in a row, and in fact that school district had 2 campuses reach 5 years of an F in a row, and it was Austin. Ratings today are what we refer to as preliminary ratings. There's a 30-day appeal window, then there's a 30-day window to apply for appeal, then there's about 60 days where we have a third-party panel review and just check all the work, make sure it's accurate. Sometimes those result in ratings changes. So I think it's way preliminary to discuss what actually might happen in Austin as a result of that.
Commissioner, there were significant questions from parents in Fort Worth this week about uncertified teachers. As Fort Worth reported, some 600% increase in uncertified teachers. Parents, even some who understand that you bring in uncertified teachers sometimes that have a different skill set, but even they raised their eyebrows at this and thought the number was huge. Similar complaints came from Houston. I know this is a trend nationwide, but can you talk about kind of how parents should feel about seeing such a drastic change?
It's a great question. Again, I'm not just Commissioner of Education, I'm also a client. I think about these both with my day job hat and my dad hat. What we want in front of every child is a loving, well-trained adult. This is what we want. Teacher certification is usually a signal that someone has been in some way prepared for it. It's not a guarantee. On a statewide basis, there's about 30,000 new teacher hires each year in the state of Texas, new to teaching profession. There's about another 15,000 rehires. Of those statewide new to teaching hires, 2 years ago the number was 55% were uncertified. So I will say this is not a Fort Worth specific challenge. We have this challenge writ large. The legislature has looked at this issue and studied it in detail. Again, you have 2 members of the legislature here, and passed one of the more sweeping reforms of this that I've seen anywhere in the country. And so the state of Texas will be scaling up to a roughly $500 million per year investment in aspiring teachers, where the state will provide a local school district like HEB somewhere between $10,000 and $40,000 per new teacher candidate, so that we can get them, say, a full residency year of practice before they teach, or at least a full semester of practice before they teach, or a paid summer intensive training. And so I would expect to see Fort Worth and other districts like this taking advantage of this new funding flow from the legislature to try to help with regard to recruitment and aspiring teacher training.
Time for a couple more.
For all the teachers in the room, by the way, you can ask them. I already know the answer to this. When you all became certified, you all paid out of pocket for all of that costs. So on behalf of the state of Texas, thank you for that. And also, we're making changes, so the people come behind you, we got your back.
Commissioner, you mentioned that we've seen progress, but it's been kind of incremental. How do you expect that picture to change once the changes you just mentioned, once we start to see the impact?
Again, I think school is hard. There's a set of ingredients that are necessary in any individual school to be successful. You got to have leadership that remains focused, oriented on results, has high expectations. You got to have talent practices that both are designed to recruit, support, and retain. You have to have a system of supports for students to ensure that they are ready to learn in the class. We want to make sure that they can stay focused. You have to have a rigorous content curriculum that is well aligned and evidence-based, and then you have to have instructional delivery practices that are strong. All 5 of those ingredients have to be true. And I don't care whether you're in Dallas or in Dumas, all 5 of those ingredients have to be true. And that's what this team is so good at doing. And what we try to do at the agency is support these leadership practices in districts all over the state. Obviously, if in a district where there might be some intervention, we ensure that there's a leadership team driving in that direction. But in other places, we have lots of grants and technical assistance that we try to provide because we want everybody to win, period. That's what we want to be true.
What specifically is HEB ISD doing right that you want to see other districts around the state and the Metroplex emulate?
I should bring Board President Cole back up here to talk about the 3 non-negotiables of HEB. But if you think about the 3 non-negotiables of HEB, this should be a non-negotiable of public education. And yes, thank you. Preach. And so this is, I think, what matters. This, you heard what is kind of a business principle, but this Edwards-Deming total quality management. We are going to reflect on everything. We're gonna pay attention and measure the important things, and then we're going to iteratively improve on this stuff over and over and over and over again. This is your continuous improvement. We're going to make sure that every classroom has even access, equitable access to good content. Kids need to be reading Charlotte's Web, cover to cover, all classrooms, not some. This focus and an instructional leadership. If you'll permit me, I'm going to nerd out for just a little bit. This is a press conference. It's a speech. I'm not teaching. The teachers in the room have a much harder job because they don't have to just tell you this stuff. They need to make sure you learned it. And so, as it turns out, there's a lot of cognitive science practices that matter here. And I'll give you like a basic intro to teaching. So we're going to pretend you all are all second graders. I'm going to do a question. All right, ready? Raise your hand if you can tell me the capital of the state of Texas. Okay, if you wouldn't mind, what's the? All right, everybody, did she get it right? Can we snap for her? Good. Okay, I'm going to do this a different way now. All right, students, I'm going to ask you all a question. I want you to sit silently for 3 seconds. Pull out my little tongue depressors. And then I'm going to call on one of you randomly to answer this question. Ready? What's the capital of Texas? Joe?
Awesome.
Great. Let's give them snaps, right? Think about the difference between those 2 interactions. In one case, the student themselves got to control whether they were going to think about the answer to the question. In the other case, because of the way that I have been teaching, everybody knows it's my expectation that they think about the answer to this question. And humans aren't like little robots. It's not just got to go in the ear. You have to both hear it and then think about it. And I'll do it a third way. If this were the 1920s, I'd have you all pull out your slates. Everybody know what I'm talking about, the old slates? I would say what you remember, but nobody here remembers using slates. So what we do have now are the little whiteboards. So everybody pull out your whiteboards. Ready? Okay, everybody got your whiteboard out? Good. All right, I'm going to ask everybody, write down the answer to my question. I'm going to give everybody 5 seconds. What's the capital of Texas? Everybody writes. Okay, what do? Everybody show me what your whiteboard. And so I can go, please, I need to see your whiteboard. Okay, good. This young lady, she wrote Washington, D.C. Can somebody help her out here? Right, so what's the difference between the third method, the second method, and the first method? All that can be executed in roughly the same amount of time, all for the same instructional purpose. The difference is in the third case, all means all. We're not leaving this classroom until I know everybody can think about the capital of the state of Texas. And I'm not teaching a group of 20 for only 10 of them to learn it. And so these three design principles, these non-negotiables that you heard from the board president, who, by the way, is unpaid. This is right. This has to be our focus, our continuous, our relentless focus to give our kids our absolute best.
Got time for one more and then we'll wrap it up?
Commissioner, you talked about population enrollment going up and down over time. It's not a new thing. What is new are ESAs. Do you have a concern about funding following students away from an ISD to a private school with public dollars?
It's a great question, but it is not something that I have a concern about, and I'll tell you why. The same time that the legislature opened up this opportunity for families that wish to pursue that, they added $4.5 billion to the traditional public education system. So this is clearly, you see signaling from our legislature, and I mean, you got two here, you could talk to them, and I know what the answers are because these are amazing public servants, but everybody's first priority is always K-12 education. It doesn't really matter who I talk to.
Yeah. So we're going to get a couple of pictures, and the first one, I would like elected officials to come up and stand next to Commissioner Morath. Let's do an elected officials picture first, and then after that, let's have the staff of Bell Manor come forward and take a picture as well.